Sheri Fairman. Thank you, Minerva. Good morning and welcome to the WellMed Charitable Foundation Caregiver Teleconnection. We're very happy you're with us. I would like to introduce our speaker today, who's going to tell us about the positive approach with people with dementia. Sheri Fairman has a Master of Social Work degree and certifications as trainer and consultant with Teepa Snow's Positive Approach to Care. She's also certified to support care partners using the DICE approach, DICE all caps. She's going to tell us what that is. The DICE approach to dementia care. She's worked as a dementia care specialist with the Aging and Disability Resource Center in Brown County, Wisconsin, and is owner of Dementia Care Solutions, LLC. And with that, Sheri, I give the meeting to you.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I need to put people on mute. I forgot that part. Okay, now you're going to hear a little bit of all right, an announcement. Oh, maybe
We
not.
good to go?
You're good to go. Thank you. You're muted, Sheri. You're muted. Oh no, how did that happen?
You muted me too. That's okay. I unmuted myself. We're good?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Technology is wonderful. We're going to embrace it and love it.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with a little bit of an activity for you just to observe, okay? And then give some thoughts to what you might be feeling through this, okay? So, hi, I'm Sheri, and you are?
Evelyn.
Evelyn. Hey, I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And you?
San Diego, California.
San Diego, sunny San Diego, always 72, right?
Well, it's 70 and foggy right now. I live by the beach.
It's foggy until about 10:30.
Yep.
I'm here today to share some information about positive dementia care. And you?
I'm here to facilitate the call and make sure that we, try to get as many people to give input as possible.
Awesome. You're a support person.
Yep.
Nice. So think for a minute, everybody, just in that little exchange, what do you think about the way I just connected with Evelyn? Why do you think I connected with her like that? Think about how it would feel if you had memory issues and somebody had an engagement like that. What can we do to help people with dementia reduce their anxiety and have a connection with others? When we lead an interaction with what we call, this is a Teepa Snow technique, an I share, you share approach, we significantly reduce the anxiety and stress people can feel when approached the other way. The other way would be, hey, Evelyn, where you live?
San Diego.
But like, what are you doing here in this class today?
That's my job.
It's your job. So it's kind of like a being on the spot. I've got to come up with an answer. So when we do the I share, you share, it's a softer approach. We're creating a connection. In the I share, you share, I provide an example of what I expect the other person to do or say. So this is helpful for anyone at all, especially for people with memory issues and cognitive concerns. I'm going to share my screen. I'm not doing a slideshow in this, so you're going to kind of see my slides on the side. It's just easier, but I hope it's big enough for you. So everybody can see my title slide that says Unlocking the Doors to a Better Dementia Care Experience.
I can.
Wonderful.
Everybody
All
else?
right.
Yeah.
I saw some nods. So, who am I? And what do I do? So I put this slide first because if for some reason you're not able to stay on the call, or you are wondering how to get a hold of me right away, this is my contact information. I am owner of Dementia Care Solutions. This phone number, 920-883-5076, is good for calling or texting. And the email as well. It's my name, Sheri, at dementiacaresolutions.org. And I also have a website. And on that website, you can explore, learn a lot more. And there's some resources that I'm going to be talking about today that you can download off my website. Don't be shy if you ever want to take a picture of the screen. If there's anything on there that you're like, ooh, I want to make sure I don't forget this, feel free to do that. And if so desired, I can share my PowerPoint slides. Although most things you can kind of find. I don't have very many slides.
And Sheri, I think I forgot to tell you that we actually send out the resources mentioned during the presentation to folks with our post-session questionnaire. So
Okay.
whoever is registered will get a copy of the resources.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So the other thing about myself, and Evelyn had shared a little bit of my credentials. You mentioned the DICE approach. I'll explain that extremely briefly. DICE is an acronym for Describe, Investigate, Create, Evaluate. It is a research-based approach to solving challenging dementia situations. The describe is describe the behavior. I like to use the word situation instead of behavior, because what do we think of when we think of behavior? Children
Problems.
misbehaving, right? Do we ever think of a good behavior? Like, ooh, grandma behaved so well today, right? It's usually, And behavior is a form of communication. So I try to use the word situation whenever possible, challenging situations. So describe the situation, investigate. So try to figure out what's causing that situation, and then create a plan. C, create a plan for intervention, and then E is evaluate. That is a small piece of one way of approaching challenging situations for people with dementia care. Side note with Teepa, she does something that's similar, but it's 6 pieces of the puzzle, not just with DICE, it's 3. It's the person with dementia, the caregiver, and the environment. Those 3 pieces we look at. And with Teepa's 6 approach, there's a few more in there, kind of breaks it down a little bit more. So what do I do with my agency? I'm a consultant first and foremost. So I can educate about dementia. I can talk about those challenging situations, what might be causing them. And I help family caregivers and professionals work to solve those issues that might be coming related to dementia. I can also do presentations like this for the community, and then workshops for professionals. I do coaching. So if the person with dementia is involved, I can go and do some coaching in person with that person with dementia, as well as the caregiver, both family caregivers and professionals. And then I can provide support. One of the things that I can do is some case management. Some of the people I work with have dementia, and they want to plan. They want to know, what is this going to look like in the future? So I provide some education, but I also provide some connection to next steps. What are the resources out there? What am I going to need help with? And then I also can work with the family caregivers in doing the same type of thing. I do offer a 30-minute free consult for all care partners. So some people are surprised by that because they could be caring for the same person, but every care partner is an individual. So I might talk to a daughter caregiving for her mother and do a 30-minute consult, but her brother's not quite on the same page. So she'll have him give me a call. I'll do a 30-minute free consult for him. He's different. And so with dementia, as many of us know, we have to be as flexible as possible, because dementia doesn't bend and move with the world. It's the rest of us that need to bend and move with the world. And that's kind of how I run my agency. Okay, so one of the things that I have started or created is something called the FISH approach, the FISH approach to dementia care. When we work to understand better the experience of the person with dementia, we can alter our approach to be more supportive. The FISH approach, it allows us to view people with dementia from their perspective. People with dementia are like fish in the water. They live in the water, that's their reality. The care partners are up here on land, that's us, we're all up here on land, and we often pull fish out of water or pull people with dementia out of their reality to show them our reality. And this happens out of just well-meaning respect for who the person used to be. Teepa Snow says, they are who they were, but they're different now. So we're learning how to respect their reality. And it feels a little bit funny. It feels a little bit off because we've spent a lifetime respecting who they are. And we're still going to do that, but we're going to put another layer on it and respect their reality. We'll find a new perspective and an enlightening view into the person with dementia's reality when we get in the water. Something else to consider, and that is something you can find on my website too. Everything is downloadable. Something else that's really important to consider is how emotions play in our daily lives. Consider how the role of emotions in your life, right? Whether we're feeling lighthearted or overwhelmed or peaceful or joyful, agitated, frustrated, sad. The emotions we feel can affect how we think and how we behave. When we're not experiencing any cognitive or memory issues, we access our coping mechanisms, which usually help us with making choices and navigating these challenging situations. Now, when we're struggling with brain changes, our emotions can take control. So I throw this out there to care partners. Filter whatever you're going to say or do through this. If I say this, or if I do this, how will it make them feel? Then we decide whether to say something before we say it and avoid a challenging situation. But we still need to learn how to say or do things that'll make for a better experience. For example, my husband needs to take his medicine, but every time I tell him to take his medicine, he gets mad. I'm not a kid, leave me alone. So I put that filter, okay, if I tell him to take his medicine, how's it gonna make him feel? Not good. So now I have to do it another way. How can I get him? That's how we do as care partners. How can I make this happen? That's what we're going to talk about today. Side note, that little example. One thing you might say is, hey, here's your water here's your water you asked for your pills. He asked for it, here you go. So let's take a look at some communication snags. So these are some of the ways our approach can get snagged in the weeds. You getting my whole fish approach thing, right? We're fishing, getting snagged in the weeds. These are some approaches we want to avoid, especially if we find that it increases stress and anxiety. So I'll give some examples that have happened to me with my mom. And I do that to be vulnerable, to share with you that I may be an expert in this field. But when I was caregiving for my mother, she did pass away a couple of years ago. She had vascular dementia. I do this for a living, and it was still falling into some of these communication snags. So none of us are perfect. We're all in this together. And as we learn more and we practice and try, we do better. So first thing we do, so picture us, we're up on land and we're trying to help the people with dementia in the water. One thing we accidentally do is reason with them. And that's like pulling them out of water, reasoning. When we reason with a person with dementia, we're expecting them to be able to understand cause and effect. This part of the brain's often broken. They simply can't understand. So with my mom, boy, I'm telling you, I went in a big lecture with this one. Mom, you can't ration your insulin. It doesn't work that way. You can't make it last longer. You need to get your prescription refilled when it needs to be refilled. Can't you see your blood sugar is like way over 200? And my mom did not realize any of that, but my lecture made her feel stupid. Next, explaining. We usually explain things to a person with dementia because we're trying to help them understand. They often can't connect the dots, and explaining only causes frustration. So here's my mom example. Mom, they have to take your clothes out of the room to wash them. They aren't stealing them. They'll bring them back. Well, my mom felt unheard. And guess what? She quit telling me things that bothered her. Next, orienting. It may be an automatic response to try and help the person with dementia see our reality. Pulling them out of the water. See, I'm your daughter. No, you're not. Orienting them can increase anxiety and cause them to become upset. So here's my example with my mom. She figured her purse was stolen, her white purse, by the way. She knew her black purse wasn't stolen. It was sitting right there, but her white purse was stolen. So I said, Mom, your purse isn't stolen. I have it in my house. I can bring it to you. And it really was. It was at my house. But what was I doing? In her reality, in the water, it was stolen. Right? And I'm thinking I'm being helpful by pulling her out of the water, orienting her to where her purse actually was. Boy, I got to tell you, that pissed my mom off because she knew her purse was stolen. I was trying to show her my reality. Guess what she said next? I'm going to do my mom voice, okay? It's kind of scary because my mom had a great mom voice. She's raised in Kentucky, Southern woman. She said, my purse was stolen and it had everything in it. Immediately, I was like, ooh, I had these red flags go up. I caused that. I amped her up. Before her purse was stolen, now it had everything in it. I don't know what everything is, but that was on me. So next, arguing. Oh my gosh. And we argue with people with dementia a lot out of our own grief. This is so hard. How can they be doing this? Arguing with a person with dementia will increase stress and affect that overall trusting relationship. You're probably right, but that's not going to help the situation. So I used to go to my mom, and every time I'd go to my mom, she'd give me her phone. She'd say, you broke my phone. And guess what I would say? I didn't break your phone. Mom, you go into your settings, you turn your ringer off. That's not me. Well, in her reality, I broke her phone. Not the other way around. So guess what? My mom had words for me. And then guess what? I had words for her. And I was right, but it didn't matter. And then we fought. And then she's like, you could just go. She started to tell the staff at the facility not to tell me things. Our trusting relationship was deteriorating. Next, convincing. Oh, we try this. We try this so hard with people with dementia. Please, if you don't take your medicine, you'll end up sick. If you don't take your insulin, your blood sugar, please, you have to. And we have a good reason why. Convincing and reasoning almost go hand in hand. But trying to convince a person with dementia about anything often causes skepticism, paranoia. we find them digging their heels in even deeper. We're showing them our agenda. I've got something I want you to do. And they don't know why, but I'm not going to do that. They're protecting themselves. It's their primitive brain kicking in. The primitive part of their brain is one of the last things to go with dementia. That's our inner brain, our amygdala, that fright, fight, and flight. I got to protect myself. So I'm just going to be like, nothing about you, because the more you try to convince me, the more I'm not sure. So here's my example with my mom. Boy, I tried this for a couple years. Mom, you really need to move to an assisted living. Aren't you afraid of falling? You keep messing up your medications. We have to take you to the emergency room. And honestly, Mom, you're not able to bathe yourself anymore. All of these things would be so much better at the facility. Guess what? She figured I just wanted to get rid of her. I didn't want to take care of her anymore. I didn't want to do all those things. She doesn't see her own care needs. She couldn't look in the mirror and see what she needed. And that part of the brain is damaged, which also means she can't see my needs and how this is affecting me. The fact that I would spend days in the ER with her because of a medication issue or a urinary tract infection, because she couldn't see that she needed help and wouldn't do it. But all the convincing in the world didn't do it for us. So things to avoid. I bet you're all thinking, what do we do?
Yep.
What do we do if I can't do that? So we get in the water. We get in the water with the person with dementia. Is this going to work for us 100% of the time for everyone? Nope. This is dementia. All we can do is try. But these are some tools to add to your toolbox. So we now know that we aren't going to pull the fish out of water. We're not going to take them out of their reality if it's going to cause stress and anxiety. Now you might be thinking, it doesn't really stress my mom out if I said to her, hey mom, why don't we, take your medicine and then do something else? And then she'll be like, well, okay, all right. So always put it through the filter. If she's going to trust you and go for whatever you say, and you find you can convince her and say, hey, how about we take your insulin before, and she's okay with that and she's not feeling bad. This is that emotional piece. Put it through the filter. If your filter's telling you that's not going to go over well, then don't do it. These are some things to try. Let's see here. We're going to get in the water with them. We're going to step into their reality. These are some things that we can do. When we get in the water with a person with dementia, we step in their reality. We use these communication tools. This helps them navigate their dementia experience, and it helps us get the cares done that we need to do. So we'll start with reflecting. This is good to do with just about everybody. I do this a lot with care partners. So a care partner might say, I can't do this anymore. This is so hard. I'll reflect. You just can't do this anymore. This is hard. Yeah. Reflecting. This is, if you take one tool away from this, reflecting is going to be extremely helpful. So begin by responding to the person to confirm that they're understood. So in my mom's situation, she's saying, someone is stealing my clothes. When I learned a better way to support her rather than tell her that they're taking them to wash and blah, 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 I responded with a reflect. Someone's taking your clothes. I wasn't agreeing with her, right? I was just reflecting that I've heard her. It's very different. Feeling heard and understood is a great first step in building trust. So pretend like you're in New York, right? If any of you guys are in New York, you're going to be like, well, that's easy. But for me, a little Wisconsin girl, going to New York is scary. There's a big tall skyscrapers. There's thousands of people on the street, right? But I got an appointment. I got to get to this appointment at this building, and I don't know. And there's people walking everywhere. Excuse me, would you, oh, shoot, would you be able to, I've got this, could you? And somebody comes over and says, hey, you look like you could use some help. Oh, thank you. Could you help me? You look like you could use some help. Yeah. It's all about emotions, bringing down that anxiety, bringing down that stress. And so I spent a lot of time on reflecting. This is something to practice with your partner, with your kids. I just spent a week with my grandkids and I did a lot of reflecting. Oh, you're wanting some juice. Grandma, can I have some juice? You want some juice? Yeah. Okay. Would you like the green cup or the yellow cup? Next, investigating. So let's get really curious about what might be happening that's causing the situation. What is she missing? Is there an unmet need? Is there a particular staff person that she's developing a poor relationship with, or that staff person's developing with her? You know what? Honestly, I actually did see another resident wearing one of my mom's shirts. They're stealing her laundry. In her world, they're stealing her laundry. And that other lady's the one who stole it. This was an error on the staff's part. Big deal, right? We'll make it up. But we need to listen and be curious to support the person with dementia. That unmet need is the most important piece. And it can be, I need to go to the bathroom. It could be, I have pain, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. I need human connection. Sometimes we're so busy doing the tasks that we forget to sit down and spend some time with the person. Even just a little bit of time. I was at a facility yesterday and they were telling me how this woman doesn't really eat anymore. She'll sit and pick at her food and push it aside, and she doesn't really recognize it as food. And then at the end, when everybody's done eating, they'll go sit with her and then they'll feed her. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So I went and sat with her for a little bit. I tried a little trick I'm going to show you later to see if that would work, a little hand under hand to help her feed, because she wasn't really even recognizing her utensil, and helping her to be independent with her task. And she was not about it. She wasn't about me holding her hand or anything. She was like, that's good. And okay. And you can over there. And I ended up just chatting with her. And she had a hard time finding words, but it was more about the connection and I did a lot of nodding and yeah, you're right. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to leave you to eat. And I spent probably about 3 minutes with her. And I walked away and I looked back and she was eating. Just that little human connection, that feeling because it's hard to understand what she needs because she's not able to come up with the words. So that human connection, that's an unmet need. Validating. So giving words to emotions and validating them builds trust. That sounds really frustrating. That's okay. That's okay to validate their emotion. That's helpful for any of us. We feel better when somebody validates our emotion than when somebody says, well, don't feel bad. Apologizing. Even if you did nothing wrong, a heartfelt apology can help the situation. I am sorry that happened to you, Mom. That should not have happened. Or this is really hard. I hate this for you. I'm sorry. I should not have done that. My mom with her phone. You know what, Mom? I'm sorry. I should not have done that. reassuring, helping the person feel that they're not alone and their needs are being addressed. It's really important. Mom, is it okay if I look into this for you? Her white purse. Guess how I did the white purse thing? After I told her white purse was in my house and I saw she got mad and it had everything in it, I took a pause. Everybody, do this. This is a magic pill. Take a pause. Take a deep breath. Reduces the cortisol in our brain. We can do this. We can help people with dementia do this. This helps us think better. When the cortisol's in our brain's trying to work and it's trying to make sense and it's harder, but we can reduce that cortisol. I took a deep breath and I said, you know, Mom, I am sorry. That should not have happened to you. Is it okay if I check in on this for you? Oh, you'll do that for me? My mom turned into a different person. The phone, Mom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Can I fix it for you? Well, honey, you don't have to feel bad. You didn't do it on purpose. In one moment, this little moment bubble, I break her phone. And by me apologizing, brought her to this other moment bubble. People with dementia live in bubbles. They live in moments. And we just want to get them to a new moment. And I was very easily able to take her from, I'm the one who broke her phone, to, well, you didn't do it on purpose. Is it going to be like that for everybody? No. But it definitely can help. And if it doesn't help, you tried. And then redirecting. Sometimes we want to jump to a redirect when we want to skip all this other stuff, but this other stuff builds trust and relationship. So take the extra couple minutes to listen, to reflect, to investigate and validate, apologize, reassure, and then redirect. So a redirect could be like, hey, before I go and talk to staff, Mom, I could use your help. Could you? Let's go. People with dementia want to be helpful. We all want to be helpful. We all want to be needed. So let's draw on that. So now that we're all in the water with the people with dementia, let's talk more about what they're experiencing. And I'm going to take a pause here and see if anybody has any questions about what we just talked about.
You can use chat. You can use *6 to unmute your phone. If you're on the phone, we really would like to hear from you. Well, Sheri, I had a question for you. I know you know the answer to this. All of these things you mentioned are so, they're so clear and so specific. They're wonderful. I've also noticed that, if you are having a bad emotional day, it seems to affect the way that the person you're providing care for feels. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are all emotional beings and we can have bad days. Keep in mind, so can they. So if they're having a bad day, we don't always have to make it all better for them. Sometimes things are just hard and we're just there for them empathetically. But we're keeping in mind, we're the ones with a healthy brain. So even if we're having a bad day, if we want to avoid challenging situations, we've got to do our best to help that person with dementia not have a negative impact on our bad day, because we have connection to our coping mechanisms. And somebody with dementia doesn't. Where do they cope? In their amygdala, where their fight, and flight happens. So if we're having a bad day, does that mean that we have to put ourselves out there the whole day? This is where we need to build our team. Gosh, today's going to be really a rough one. I'm going to call my daughter. I'm going to call my friend. I'm going to check and see who can help me out today, because I don't have it in me. And you don't have to have it in you all the time. We can't have it in us all the time. I always say when somebody gets diagnosed with dementia, it takes a village. We're all a part of the village and we can't be expected to do it all. We can't be anybody's everything. It's just not the way it is. Does that help?
We've got some interesting questions too.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, we've got one here. Oops. Someone's talking about educating and how hard it is not to educate the person that you love. And they want to know how they can reprogram themselves to not do that.
That's what I do. Great question. So yes, this is a little piece at the end that I was going to talk about, but maybe we don't get to it. I'll do it now. Inside our brain are thousands of neural pathways, thousands of them. This is why when somebody says, you're not my husband, and the husband's, yes, I am. That is a knee-jerk reaction. That's a neural pathway. I've been your husband for 54 years. La, 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 la. It's a rut in the road, right? And so it's so easy to just go into the rut in the road in our brain and do the thing that we've always said or done. But what we're talking about here today is creating a new rut in the road in our brain, a new neural pathway. And we do that. How are ruts in the road developed? Over and over and over and over. So to create a new neural pathway, we have to go over and over and over and practice. And the way we start is by a pause. If I can practice pausing before I spew it out of my mouth, I am automatically creating a new neural pathway. I am automatically stopping going into this rut that hasn't been helpful. It was always helpful till dementia came, not helpful anymore. Pause. Then practice some of these approaches. Reflect. Reflect what that person is saying. A reflect is also a great opportunity for you to pause. I don't have to think of much. I just have to say what they said. A little pause and see what they say. Lots of pausing, fewer words. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. There was also a question from Pamela. I'd like my siblings to hear this. Is that possible? Yes, you need to go to, in a couple days, we record this as a podcast, and you can go on www.caregiverteleconnection, as one word, .org, and you will be able to see the full, or to hear the full podcast. And we will be sending out the resources. So if you are registered for this, you'll be able to get the resources with your post-session questionnaire. So if you're not registered, you be sure, and I'll give you the number of our customer service person at the end of this call. And you'll have to call and get registered, but you'll be happy you did.
Okay, go ahead and keep putting questions in the chat. I'm going to kind of go on to my next piece. So what we're going to talk about now that we're in the water with the person with dementia, let's really explore what life is like for them regarding their senses. So we all know we have 5 senses, right? We have what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste, what we smell. 5 senses. We're going to focus on the first 3 today because these are the ones that are most affected by dementia. So number 1, visual. Visual. This is our preferred way to get data. Our brains receive data visually first. What we see is the most powerful sensory. We see with our eye, but we process what we see in the back of our brain, back here. And what connects between our eye and the back of our brain is a lot of wiring, really complicated wiring. And so with dementia, this wiring gets jumbled or cut. So let's talk about what a person is perceiving visually as the disease progresses. So if you want to take just a little bit, scoot back from your computer just a little bit. I know you don't have your cameras on, but I know each and every one of you are doing this. Hold your hands straight out to your side and look straight forward and wiggle your fingers. A normal 25-year-old will be able to see their fingers in their peripheral vision. Now, as we age, our visual field shrinks. So bring it in about 45 degrees. So this is about a normal, healthy 75-year-old's visual field. But go like this. It's not just side to side, it's top and bottom. This is a normal, healthy 75-year-old's. This is what they perceive visually. Now, early dementia, put a scuba mask on. Look around. This is the early dementia. This is what they can perceive and register in their brain. And disease progresses, it goes to binoculars. Oh, hey, Evelyn, you've got some pudding on your shirt. Take a look. Can you see your shirt? No, I don't. Look at the plate in front of you at the table. Well, I don't have a plate in front of me, but I see their plate. I'm just going to help myself get the food off of their plate. Binocular vision. Now the disease progresses. We can kind of scoot this around a little bit as the disease progresses. And now I'm not sure what this is and what I use it for. It must be to stir my coffee, maybe. I don't understand. Now the disease progresses even further and we're in binocular vision. I'm going to ask you guys to do this, like really put your one on, close your other eye, look around. Wow, the world's smaller. Find something like arm's length away from you, whether it's on the floor or desk, and reach for it. It's not quite where you thought it would be. So we'll see people with dementia. I saw a gentleman the other day, he was trying to eat his cereal and he had his spoon and he's tapping the table. He couldn't find his bowl. So depth perception really impacted. So we'll notice people slow down, they walk slower. The world is very different, it's darker. Did you notice that when you put your hands up and you bring them down? Whoa, it's darker. So sometimes brightening up the room. And then as the disease progresses even further, we take that monocular into a little pinhole. This is why people with dementia later in the disease spend a lot of time with their eyes closed. It's too much to take in. I gotta just close my eyes. Okay. What was that like for you guys? Think about that. How would it impact the everyday life of a person with dementia? Why is it important for us to understand these visual changes? Take a second and write down something you can do differently now that you have a better understanding of those visual changes. All right, the second way we get data is by what we hear. First, visual. Second, data. What we hear, auditory data, is the second most important way we get data in our brain. If we hear something, what do? We want to look. Looking is the first. Remember, people with dementia will get more value out of what they see than what they hear. So when we're approaching someone with dementia, we can give a knock first to get their visual attention. Let's take a look at this image of the brain. This, in the circled part of the brain, is where we understand language. The one on the left is a healthy brain. The one on the right is one after a full disease of dementia. Notice a lot of shrinkage. This is the left temporal lobe. This is the, what we see here is that shrinkage. People will have a harder time processing what you have said, coming up with words they want to say, and finding the right words for objects around them. Let's look at the right side of the brain. This is the right side. This is where we process what we hear. I mean, this is where we hear. This is not understanding the language, but this is where we see what we hear. Things like rhythm of speech, prayer, music are stored here. There's actually a lot of research that shows music is never lost.
Mm.
So sometimes people with dementia will seem to mumble, sound like they're saying something, but you can't make it out. And then rhythm of speech. They may very well think they're saying something, but we're not picking it up. So early in this, people will miss out of 4 words. How before do you get what you think? Early in this, people will miss out of 4 words. How before you got do you think? Early in this disease, people will miss out of 4 words, 1 out of 4 words. How long before you got lost, do you think? What were you feeling when I was getting louder? Like,
You're angry.
yeah, I was angry. How do you think a person with dementia would feel?
Angry.
It's important for us to understand this. And what can we do differently when we're communicating? You were able to hear me, but not understand the meaning. You were missing the words. We need to slow down. We need to use fewer words. We need to pause. We need to offer time for people with dementia to process what they've learned. As we age, our processing speed slows down without dementia, about 0.5% to 1% every year. By the time we're 50, we're starting to notice, this is taking me longer to learn things. So once we have dementia, that processing speed is even slower. But as care partners, we like to talk a lot. Come on, it'll be fun. Let's go. How about we go over there first and then we'll do that? Does that sound good? And people with dementia will watch you and pick up visual cues. This is why I use my hands a lot. Ooh, I'm always using my hands, right? But they're not actually picking up what we're saying. They miss out on the content. We think they're getting it, but they aren't. We might even say, hey, how about we go check out the bathroom? Okay. Well, come on. Yeah. Well, you said you wanted to go. Okay. But they're not going.
Sheri,
Yes.
let me tell you, we have a chat that's asking exactly that.
Oh.
How do you deal with people when they don't want to do what you're asking them to do?
Right. So we have an agenda and we're showing them the agenda and they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to put our agenda away.
Yeah, get up and put your clothes on.
Huh?
Get up and put your clothes on. We have to go to the doctor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So we need to put our agenda away. The more desperately we need them to do something, the more they dig their heels in. Remember that convincing, they're digging their heels in. We have to plan. We have to give more time for things. And we want to do step by step by step. So if we want them to get their clothes on and we're in the living room, we need to get them to the bedroom, unless we're bringing the clothes out. And so by saying, hey, if we have a doctor's appointment coming up, we should go get dressed. No, I'm not going to go. But if we said, hey, I could use your help. Come with. We're avoiding the yes or no questions. We ask people with dementia yes or no questions. We're going to get no a lot.
Yeah.
Unless it's a really good one, like, do you want ice cream or not?
Yeah, right.
Right? But
Do you want help with
speaking,
dishes?
what?
Do you want to help with dishes?
Right. Yeah, probably not. Do you want to help? But when we say, I could use your help, let's go. There's a good chance, depending on who they are and where they are in the disease, this isn't a blanket for everybody, but they often will be like, oh, well, all right then.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're getting them there. Then we say, hey, the red shirt or the green one? Now we didn't say we have to get dressed to go blah, 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 and all the stuff that we know in our head. they can't process all that, but we're going to offer one or the other. Now, as the disease progresses, we might need to be like, okay, before we even bring this up, we got to take this one off. Earlier in the disease, they can figure out, oh, I've got to put a shirt on. I'm going to take this one off first. So how we care for people with dementia needs to change as the disease progresses.
We had a question or a comment from someone who said the more time I give my husband warning that he's going to respite, he gets more agitated and upset.
That's a really good example of my filter question. You've put it through the filter. If I say this, how will it make him feel? If I tell him he's got respite coming up, how will that make him feel? He gets really restless and agitated. I'm not going to tell him because I'm going to save him that time of agitation and frustration. I'm going to make it much smaller and tell him closer to the time. He doesn't understand time like we do. So we're going to respect his reality. We try to respect who they were, which is nice. But if it doesn't work out, because who they were would want to have more notice. But because of the disease in the brain and the damage that's happening to the hippocampus, where we understand the passage of time, we're going to do that for him. We're going to worry about getting him all ready and all the steps we can do, and then let him know. And then we might not say, well, you've got respite today. We might say, if they have a bus coming around here, we've got a bus. We might say, ooh, hey, the bus is here, or the bus is about here. Let's go outside. Because they won't remember all the preparing for them. Memories are stored in a different place where emotions are. So they might forget that you told him he's got respite, but how that makes him feel will linger. So I don't really know why I'm frustrated or agitated, but gosh darn it, get out of here. Great questions, guys.
Yeah, no kidding. We've got about 5 minutes left, Sheri, maybe 4, because I need to make a few announcements.
Sure.
So are you finished with your presentation, or do you want to do some
I
wrap
most
up?
certainly can be. I could go on for another hour.
I think we like that. If people want to stay on, do you want to go like an extra 15 minutes?
Sure. I mean, I want to make sure that you can end it and people can leave in a time when they feel like they are not missing anything.
Right.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was how we actually approach somebody. So I can use these last 4 minutes to kind of talk through that, but then you've got to practice it. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can take pictures if you want. This is a tip sheet. This is Teepa Snow's positive approach to care. So understanding the sight, understanding the sound, getting in the water, understanding their reality. What we do, and I'm going to show you how we approach somebody with dementia, is we start about 6 feet away from them. This is our public space. And we want to get their visual. So if they're not looking at us, a knock. And when they do, we put our hand by our face and have our name tag right here. Visual field, right here. And I say, hey, Evelyn, it's Sheri. Or I say, it's Sheri, and you are?
Evelyn.
Right? Now, then I go to reach my hand up. Notice that I go from here, I'm staying in your visual field. I'm not going like this, where you can't see my hand shaking, right? And now, if Evelyn, you reached your hand out to me to shake it, I'm now got permission to get into your personal space. Here's my person with dementia's hand. So I'm going to shake their hand, but immediately go into hand under hand. When I'm hand under hand, I still have access to my fingers, my skill fingers. So if I need to help them with feeding, brushing their teeth, I still can do that. And if they squeeze me really hard, it doesn't hurt. Now I've got their hand, and then I get in their eye level, right? I don't stand over them. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, sweetie.
Nice shirt.
Right. And then I could say something like, ooh, Evelyn, I like your glasses. Very pretty. Building relationship. Relationship comes first. relationship comes first. It is the most important. So how do you practice this? Practice, practice, practice. Take a picture of your screen. Teepa Snow has courses that you can, certifications you can take. And then follow me. I'll be offering some more classes and things like that virtually in the future. Any questions?
Fabulous. We would like to talk to BB Kelly. I'm going to unmute her.
Okay. Yeah, BB Kelly said she needs to go back to work. Hi, BB.
Yes, come on, come on, come on. Sorry, I'm oh, that's it. That's the only one that doesn't fit into you now. Yes, thank you, BB. Thank you for your attendance. I'm sorry I didn't pick you up a little bit earlier. I was kind of scuttling us along because of our time limit, but this has been incredible. And I just can't thank you enough, Sheri, and all of you for your questions, for your comments. You know, it always adds so much to our podcasts and so much to the presentation when we get the specific questions that we know other people have. So thank you so much. And I do want to tell you that if you're not registered, please call the WellMed Charitable Customer Service number at 866-390-6491 and get registered. And you'll not only get the resources that Sheri has given us, but also you'll get the calendar for the monthly presentations, which is a fabulous treasure trove. We have 2 left this month, and one is next Tuesday, and it's with Barry Jacobs, who's a psychologist, what new family caregivers need to know. And it's like Caregiver 101. And then on Wednesday next week, we have one in Spanish that talks about the need for a power of attorney, a medical power of attorney, not just a general power of attorney. So, and the wonderful Minerva, our customer service person, has put the numbers there and it's found under the health and wellness section. Thank you, Minerva. And thank you for all of your support, Minerva. She's a support person too. And Sheri, I can't thank you enough. And hopefully we'll maybe have you on again soon, and you can start with part 2 of your presentation.
Oh, I'd love that. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Goodbye to everyone.